All right, so I did a little video vlog today of my hunt. It was my first one out of that tideweed blind. My first day out in general with that and my new Elite bow. No complaints about either one. Everything's going well. So I got a little bit of video of a little button buck that was hanging around and a doe, a small doe that was just kind of chilling with me. And the rest of the day was pretty boring. I did see a flock of turkeys first going in. They hung out quite a ways out, so I didn't get any video of those. And then other than that, I was seeing some ass-ended deer probably 70 yards away from me through the woods. I couldn't really see what they were. They were over just enough of a bank that I couldn't see what was what. But it was still nice to see some wildlife. It's the first time I've been out for a little while, and I was excited. So anyways, I started to pack some stuff up. 20 minutes till last shooting light. I got my bag on. I'm pretty much ready to roll at this point because there wasn't very much action that last like half hour or so. Nothing was really going on, so I assumed that things had kind of moved on to other places. But at the very last minute, probably 5 minutes till, something came barreling through the woods at me. Sounded like a freaking bulldozer coming through the woods. So I stopped and I tried taking my pack off, and I already had it all rigged up around my shoulders, everything, and I just decided to leave it on. I thought it was a bear because it was just so dark. That's what it looked like coming towards me and the way it was running. So I was gonna take a knee and just try to do some kissing noises at it, or, you know, something to, you know, try to get it to stop. And then it just did. It just did stop about 20 yards out in the four-wheeler trail that I'm hunting. And it ended up being an 8-point. I don't know exactly how big it was. It was pretty dark. But it was good enough for me to shoot. That's all I really cared about. So at that point, I got back in my swivel chair and I went to turn, and as I was drawing and turning, I realized how bright my light was. So I just kind of turned my body like this and put it on the deer just to see what it would look like. And my pins were taking up all the vitals on the deer. Wasn't gonna work, so I monkeyed around with it, and the deer just kind of hung out right there, and I was able to get it to turn down, and I couldn't get an exact yardage on it, but I roughly knew where it was at, and it was definitely between 25 and 30 yards between the two trees that it was hanging out at. So when I actually turned down the light on my sight, I was able to turn the whole swivel chair around, and when I did that, I knocked everything over that I had put on the one side of the blind that I wasn't expecting to see any deer on. So it sounded like bowling pins just knocking over, and the deer jumped up, and he did like this weird, like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 yard leap, and then he just like stood straight up and looked around, and then he put his head down, back up, and at that point his vitals, I knew he was still in between those two trees. He just was a little bit further ahead of them, but his vitals were right between two saplings, and I was still pretty confident with the shot at that point. I was able to get a pin on him, released an arrow with full confidence, and all of a sudden I see my arrow going 10 feet in front of him. The buck just stops and stares at me, and then didn't run, just moseyed on into the tall grass and the woods behind me like nothing ever happened. So I threw my headlamp on real quick, dug through my bag, threw my headlamp on. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And what had happened was the X's on your pop-out blind, like this, where your rods are, I was just above one of them with my pins, but my arrow was only like an inch in front of one of those rods, and I did not realize it. So when I released my arrow, I smoked a rod, and my arrow went flying, and what I was seeing in front of the deer was just my nock alone, which actually still works perfectly fine. I put on another arrow tonight and played with it a little bit. So long story short, pay attention to what you're doing. It was a totally stupid mistake on my part. Should have never happened. But I suppose it's no different than being up in a tree stand and getting what you think is a clear shot and realizing you have one tiny twig hanging down from a branch that you never cut off. You hit it and your arrow goes flinging. You know, same deal, just heat of the moment. I tried to let a shot off. I thought I was good, and I wasn't. So no buck for me tonight, no deer in general. But we still got plenty of season left. This is only day 2 of the season. I didn't go out opening day. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna try a different spot, and we'll see what happens. All right, see ya.